Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're going to be jumping down into the world of Vechain, specifically talking about potential in the next bull run whenever that does decide to materialize. So as I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash the like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, tapping the bell and selecting all the notifications, and you will not miss another video update. Above and beyond those though, do make sure you have joined us down in our Discord server. Link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, but above and beyond those things, it is the first place we go to inform you of the latest updates inside the crypto industry. If you were missing out on shorting FTT when the FTX saga unfolded, then you should have been in our Discord server. We were warning people way ahead of time, and you were some very lucrative gains made on the back of that. If you're looking for a little bit more from the crypto space, check out the Patreon services as well, also in the description down below. Okay guys, let's get into Vechain. Vechain paired up with USDT on the daily chart. Binance is the data source. So we're obviously using a USDT pair because that is where a lot of the volume is actually going through when it comes to Vechain, and we're using Binance as one of the bigger exchanges as well. Do note that depending on the pairs that you use, whether that's USDT, USDC, BUSD, or the exchange Binance, KuCoin, Gate.io, whatever other exchanges, Kraken, and so forth that you look to use, you may end up with some slight variations to price. Okay, so here we have a big view. It goes all the way back through to 2020 down here, up to the highs of 2021, and the current bear market that you see down here. This is actually a rather complex structure for Vechain. It's actually a positive structure because it gives us some kind of predictability about where things are likely to go, and it also means that allows us to be, really confident over what could happen next in the case of Vechain here in the VET token. Now, one of the things I do want to kind of acknowledge is that Vechain is significantly stronger now than it was back in 2020 and 2021. It's got a whole host of additional partners. They've migrated their offices out of Singapore and over into the Euro region, and they are making ground with breaking into the US as well. They are, of course, a layer one. They go above and beyond just the typical kind of supply chain tracking, but although that is where they started, there's a lot of fundamental stuff that you should probably be aware of when it comes to Vechain. It is definitely the top of its game, if you ask me. I am not going to go through a lot of the fundamentals in this particular video, but I do think they are a lot stronger now than they ever have been in the past. This particular video, we're going to be talking about potential in terms of the price action of the VET token, VET, in the next kind of cycle to the upside. Now, we don't know how long it's going to take for this thing to bottom out. Could be 3 months, could be 6 months, could be 12, right? It will take whatever time it takes to kind of essentially play out. I'm not going to be able to guess, how long things are going to take. What I can do is give you an idea as to kind of where things are likely to bottom, what kind of pricing that's likely to be, and what I think could be on the horizon afterwards for the price action of VET. So the first thing we need to acknowledge is what was going on over this side here. Okay, so we have this kind of 3-wave structure up here. We were hoping that this was going to be a wave 4 and we're going to have 5 waves up, and even on that, on reflection, obviously doing my due diligence on all of these things, actually that wouldn't have been a very good reason to think that Vechain could go up higher anyway. And for the most part, after this initial pullback here, I should have been much, much sharper on it, and this here would have been a really fantastic place to think, okay, here's a bounce, and then we get out. Okay, even potentially just getting out here would have been reasonable. Okay, that being said, Vechain's actually held up reasonably well, but we have revisited these low prices all the way down here in lows of December, November 2020. Okay, so let's go ahead and walk you through what's going on. Essentially on this side here, we failed to hit the 1.618 requirement for going impulsive. So instead we end up with this 3-wave corrective structure taking us up to those highs right up here in April of 2021. So it's 3 waves. Then coming down, we end up with this rather complex structure. The complex structure here for Vechain is only because it goes above and beyond what you would normally expect to see. Okay, so we can acknowledge that we have a very choppy three-wave drop, 1, 2, and 3, that had the potential to go down in an impulsive structure, but failed to do so. In fact, we had overlap just here with this little wick over this side as well, basically saying that the best case scenario would have been a diagonal. We then went up in 3 waves. There was absolutely nothing unusual about this. So if I just grab hold of that, 1, 2, and 3, you can see it very, very clearly that we have that move right in there. We can also argue that we went up in 3, down in 3, and basically it's all just very, very choppy and corrective. I'm going to focus in here because we don't need to worry too much about what was going on in this particular area. We can also acknowledge that there was another potential impulsive structure right in here, but again, failed to kind of stay true to that, essentially. And what you actually saw was then a break to the downside from there. We also saw a 3-wave drop just inside here, 1, 2, and 3 coming down. It's actually a 3-wave fashion, which actually you might want to look at this as a WXYXZ. Yeah, there's lots of different ways. 3 waves, this is going to be easier in this particular micro count. We can then see that we also came down into this low point here, and it also follows a very similar pattern to what was going on just up here, as in we had 1, 2, we come down, then we up, and then down again. 1, 2, and down. Okay, you can see it right in here. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. And this time it was a really straight drop. We consolidated in a continuation pattern, then dropped, and then bounced up again. Okay, and then we're coming back down again. So you can see here that we consolidated, we bounced down, we bounced up. Sorry, we rolled down, we bounced up, and then we went down again. So we came down, consolidated, down, bounced up, going down. Okay, so very, very similar to this particular area just here is this kind of area that we're just in. Okay, so it's really interesting because you kind of see these things repeating themselves to a degree. So let's go ahead and jump and drop these in here as well, right? We have 1, 2, and 3 just inside there. We then go up here with 1, 2, and 3. Again, very similar in this particular area of the chart just here to this particular area. We have the potential to go impulsive, and this is the June low going up here, right? We broke and invalidated a lot of the 5-wave counts that were going on potentially to the downside, so it becomes this really choppy corrective pattern. But obviously, what we're doing here is repeating a process, as you can kind of see, right? We come down in 3, go up in 3, we've come down in 3, we've gone up in 3, we're going to be going down in 3. Okay, so we can see here that we have this kind of really interesting kind of structure appearing. Now, these are all micro counts, right? But essentially, they kind of lead us into the same kind of journey, which means that we can come into this little area of focus just down here, the current price action. Okay, so if we do bring this in and we kind of bring our fib levels up and we kind of put that up to the high, we move it over to this bounce and we start coming down, you can start to see there's some interesting areas here for Vechain. Okay, you can kind of see it. We've come down to the 1-to-1 on this one already just in here, and we're bouncing from it quite nicely. Okay, so there's interesting kind of stuff going on with the here and the now. So again, this also looks like we've come down in a 3-wave fashion. But again, I don't think we're necessarily done over this side either. We haven't come down and bounced around a bit in here. We've actually kind of just gradually kind of just move the price to the downside without any significant bounces so far. So I am going to remove this because I don't think this particular area is actually complete yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back in and we're going to start thinking about this pattern or these kind of strings of corrective structures and what they mean. Because if I do actually go ahead and remove all of those, one of the things that becomes very apparent to me is that the nature of all these corrections makes it look like we are doing a W, X, Y, X, Z. Like this. And it kind of mimics the 5-wave structure, but it doesn't require to have 5-wave moves inside it. Okay, so when it comes to impulsive 5-wave structures, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you might think, okay, well, where does that go in here? You can't see it. There's actually a clear 3-wave drop in there instead, right? So we could obviously be looking at a super bearish kind of maybe leading diagonal or something like that. But actually, reality of the situation is it's a string of corrective patterns put back together, and I think we're kind of coming down. Now, we're not done yet with this correction, and I do think we have the potential to drop down reasonably significantly. And that significance could be as low, and this is it splits opinions quite a bit here, but it could be as low as 0.007 cent. Okay, so lower than 1 cent. Now, there's actually quite a broad range. We can quite actively look at anywhere between 1.5 and 0.007, right? So it's quite a broad area that we could be visiting on this downward spiral for Vechain. That is a huge opportunity. Those kind of prices haven't been seen since way over here in June of 2020. Now, I was actually invested in Vechain pretty much during this moment to the upside as well, when it was lower than a cent. And I tell you, it was quite the ride. So I wouldn't mind revisiting those areas if I'm being brutally honest. Now, the other thing that we want to kind of think about here is the areas of key support. There's actually quite a bit to be found just in this kind of 7 to 8 or 0.007 to 0.008 cent level. You can kind of see the consolidation all over here. If I actually go ahead and just pull this across, and I'm going to give it a bit of a wider area just so you can kind of see the level of what I'm actually referring to here. You can see that we were testing this area, getting rejected, test, test, test. We broke back through and we found it as support. So when we come back and we start thinking, okay, well, where does this go? This actual area is between 0.00799 and 0.00970. So that could be a real interesting point to think about. But let's talk about that next bull run. Okay, so here we can see a pretty interesting structure so far for Vechain. We've gone up in 3 and we're kind of coming down in this WXYXZ pattern, and that could actually find good support in this key area down here. Then, of course, we can wrap this up and we can start thinking, well, if all of this is actually could just be a big A, B, C structure, and that could be really, really interesting on the price appreciation of Vechain. Now, obviously, where we were in terms of 2020 and 2021, this entire pattern here going from 0.00157 all the way up to 27.983 cent. That is very, very significant gains. If I go ahead and actually draw these on, you can see it's over 17,500% in the case of Vechain here. Now, if we do go for a 1-to-1 ratio, and let's just say we're going to end up on this lower side of this support level on Vechain here, we could be looking at anywhere really between some of these key levels. Now, I want to call out a few here. I don't want to go straight to the 1-to-1. I know that's what a lot of people will kind of be thinking about, and I will mark it up, and I will talk about this as $1.42.9. Okay, and it's actually a little bit on the low side there. It's 42.950. So I'm just going to roll this up to 50. So it's that particular level there. That's actually quite a stretch target. And I think really we should focus in on these key areas right here. These are the areas that normally you find heavy resistance. This currently being 19.761 cent, 30.5 cent and 47.18 cent. So these are areas that I do think are well worth spending some time thinking about, because on this journey back to the upside, we'll go up into new all-time highs, but do expect it not to be straight lines. We've got several options on the way that we could go up. We could have kind of a big 3-wave drop move like that, and we can go up in 3 waves, or we could go up in 5 waves, and we can have a 3-3-5 corrective structure and basically go up in an impulsive pattern like this, basically find resistance maybe on that 786, come back down and find support on the 618. Lots of different ways that this could play out. Okay, we don't know what that looks like just yet, but what we do know is there's going to be some key areas here, depending on how low we go, that we want to really focus in on, based on the assumption that we'll drop down to that 0.00799 area. Kind of means about 19.7 cent all the way through to about 47 cent is going to be a major barrier for the price action of VET. But going up past those could mean $1.42 in the near future for Vechain. That could be 1 year, could be 2 years, could be 3 years down the line. I don't know how to time the market, but it does look like a pretty promising structure overall, and something I do think I will want to kind of have exposure to. So there, and this is a video that a lot of people were asking for in the Discord server. A lot of communities members were looking for where we think Vechain is going to go, and so I thought I would do a video on that to kind of get everyone up to speed with my thoughts on where I think Vechain is going to go. I think there's more room to the downside in this bear market, and I think there's a massive opportunity to the upside. Overall, I do think there's a lot of variables here that could change, so do keep a close eye on that, and obviously we'll communicate out changes in the Discord server. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Do you think $1.42 is a bit too high for Vechain, or do you think actually aiming for around that 50-cent level is pretty reasonable? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this useful and informative, smash the like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe? Tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't joined us in Discord yet, guys, you're missing the trick. A link's in the description below. Check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Until the next one, have a fantastic day.